All right, Saints fans, welcome back to the Saints TV YouTube channel and to the AFLW reviews. My name's Ollie, and this week I'll be taking you through the loss to the Western Bulldogs on Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, the girls went down 4-3-27 to 10-12-72 in what ended up being a bit of a blowout game. Unfortunate considering that we needed to win to lock in a home final. And we'll now be travelling to Adelaide next week to take on the Crows. But all things considered, it was a little bit of a free hit considering we were locked into finals after Carlton beat the West Coast Eagles. I'll take you through it now. Starting with the ins and outs for St Kilda this week, Charlotte Simpson came back in as well as Nat Plain, and Nicola Barr and Paige Trudgeon were, as far as I'm aware, just rested for this week, considering we are locked into finals. And Paige Trudgeon has played 100% of game time this season so far, so it's a great effort and a well-deserved rest for her. The game started at the peak of the afternoon heat in Melbourne yesterday, with temperature reaching just over 30 degrees. So not ideal conditions for footy. But Ariana Clark ran out in a long sleeve Guernsey, so she clearly wasn't affected by the heat. She played well as well, so it didn't affect her too much. There was also a really strong wind at Moorabbin, as always, but it was probably a little bit stronger than usual. So we kicked with the wind in the first quarter and could not capitalise whatsoever. Dogs kicked the first. We hit back through Janome Anderson later in the quarter and went down by a point into quarter time. The Dogs dominated through the middle of the ground, through clearances, especially. And as a team with the wind that strong, we should be capitalising on that and just couldn't. And it was just one of those days, and that's all right. But it's going to be one of the things that we look at, the team looks at going forward in terms of how to really start games well and how to take hold of games. Second quarter was very similar to the first. Obviously, the Dogs were kicking with the wind this time. They kicked the first again. We kicked the second again. This time it was Darcy Guttridge. But unfortunately, the Dogs kicked the next two, so we went down by a few goals into half-time. Similar story through the midfield as well as the first quarter. They just were dominating everything. We couldn't get anything going our way. They just wanted it more than we did, I think. And, it's the classic team has nothing to play for versus team that has everything to play for. And halftime, it had changed a little bit in the second quarter, especially at the start. Our ball movement was a bit better, but then the kicking into the wind factor really hit us. So changes needed to be made at halftime. The third quarter started a lot more promising. Amber Clark kicked the first goal. Snap around the body from about 35 to 40 metres out, which was really nice. Kicking with the wind again this quarter. Unfortunately, though, as the story has gone so far, the Dogs kicked the last two goals of the third quarter against the wind, and the momentum that we brought into the third, we couldn't capitalise on again. And it came down to taking the most of our opportunities and holding the ball in when we got it inside 50. It just wouldn't stick. And the Dogs were continuously dominating through the midfield. By this point, I think that our game style of being really fast and the tackle pressure and the general pressure around the ground, the speed of the game was catching up. And without a real adjustment in the game plan, the girls ended up being quite cooked, especially by the three-quarter time. Obviously, you'd be tired after playing a frantic game style like they do, but in the 30-degree heat, it really amplifies that a lot more. So, we struggled to keep up. The Dogs were able to take hold. The Dogs kicked the first of the last quarter, and Janome Anderson then responded, which was great. She played really well. Low disposal game, but she always has a high impact regardless of her disposal count, which is always really good. You know what you're going to get from her week after week. And then after that point, the Dogs kicked 3 goals unanswered, running out winners 4-3-27 to 10-12-72. So big loss for the Saints, especially heading into finals. Like I said earlier, it was a dead rubber game in that we were in finals, locked in, but it still had a lot of meaning in that we could have secured a Melbourne final. It was a little bit disappointing in the effort wise. You see these games, like I said before, with the team that has nothing to play for really showing up in the last game of the season. But in this case, I think the game style just didn't work in the conditions that we played in, and without a real adjustment in that, it didn't go too well considering we had a lot at stake. So we got completely dominated in every single statistic all around the ground, mainly through the midfield, but still got dominated in our forward line and our defence. So it was a real tough one to end the regular season. You could really tell that the injury list was taking a toll on the group, considering there's a lot of players who hadn't had a heap of experience, who played like a really pivotal role this season. Some of the injuries to our first team players that would have been playing all 12 games if they were healthy really ended up impacting the last couple of weeks, especially. Obviously we had the 6-0 run, which was great, and it was a lot of momentum, and everyone who came in played their part. But in saying that, little injury list, Vesely missed most of the season with a calf. Beckhott's done her Achilles a couple of weeks ago. Nick Xenos missed through multiple injuries, and now she's torn her ACL. Bianca Jacobson's hurt her leg, same as Molly McDonald and Ash Richards. Emily Fiedler played 6 games as our ruck last year. She was inactive all season because of an ACL injury. And Darcy Guttridge also missed a lot of time this year. So those are all players that you'd expect to see in our first 22 or first 23. So, real strong performances this season by those that replaced the injured players. Considering we had a chance to finish in the top 4, I think that's a really promising sign in how deep our list goes and how well everyone can compete each week. But it does get to a point where it really just builds up, and then you can see that players are struggling because it's been a longer season again. Like I was saying, the players that hadn't had as much experience, whilst their game time is great, you can see it slowly taking a toll on their bodies, and not their effort, but especially in a hot day like yesterday was. It becomes a lot tougher to compete for 4 quarters, and I think the Dogs were a little bit more experienced and a little more tuned into the weather. Not many standout performers from this one, considering the heavy loss, but a couple I'd like to highlight. Serene Watson had 24 touches off half back. She's strong as always, great leader on the ground, vocally and through her play. Janome Anderson with the 2 goals, and Alana G, 14 touches, 4 marks and 5 tackles. She's been great since coming into the side a few weeks ago. Always goes in really hard. Her tackle pressure is great, and she's a great kick of the ball. So she's been a really handy inclusion in the last few weeks. Finals are here for St Kilda for the first time ever. Carlton beating West Coast secured our spot in the finals, which was great, meaning that we didn't have to worry about this result too much in terms of our finals position. So we are taking on Adelaide at 2:35 p.m. on Sunday afternoon at Norwood Oval. Adelaide beat Fremantle and obviously jumped above us on percentage, so they get the home ground advantage. It should be a great game considering we beat them earlier in the season, so they'll be out for revenge. And it's finals footy. Finals energy is always so much faster, more frenetic. They're always more exciting to watch. So if you're in South Australia or in the Adelaide area, get down, support the girls, cheer loudly for the rest of us that are stuck in Melbourne. Should be a great game. Thanks everyone for watching this week's AFLW recap. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. Support the girls next week. It's a massive game. And as always, go Saints.